Summer is coming, and if you want to feel and look your best on that holiday you've booked, it's probably a good time to start sorting that out. But instead of crash diets and unrealistic, over-restrictive, boring, mundane diets, and following absolutely shocking fitness advice from influencers, why don't we do it the right way for once and create a sustainable, achievable approach that actually gets you real results? So in this video, I'll talk about starting to plan for your holiday body, setting realistic goals, and explaining why unrealistic goals are probably not a good idea long term. That's pretty obvious. But some of you out there don't know the difference between realistic and unrealistic goals. And then I'm also going to help you figure out what you're actually going to do during these coming weeks, because some of you just spin your wheels. And lastly, I'm going to talk about why you actually need to give your diet the time and attention it deserves. And then in the coming weeks after that, I'm going to give you more detailed videos with trying to get you ready for your summer holiday. Before we begin though, you might not actually be going on holiday this year, which is an absolute tragedy. I'm joking, because it's all good. You'll be glad to know this advice can also be ever so slightly adapted. Most people want to get in shape for the summer, for whatever event that they choose, obviously because it's hotter weather. There's not many topless guys walking about in the winter, unless you're that liver king twat. But I personally think it's a bit bizarre, trying to look good on your holiday, especially when you're in a relationship. So you're telling me you want to get in class shape to look good on the beach for people you're never going to sleep with, because you're already in a living relationship? Or are you just trying to show people what they can't have? Also, even if you're single and trying to impress anyone with whatever physique you've got, but you're an arsehole, you're still an arsehole, which trumps any class body that you potentially have. And women do see that. Anyway, moving on. So this information could be for anyone that's got something coming up like a wedding or something like that. So anytime I mention the word holiday, just replace that word or advice with whatever event you have coming up. And also this video right now is going to be quite high level. We're going to get into more detailed stuff in a few weeks. Now, to begin with, you have a bit of homework, because first you need to figure out what you're actually wanting to do for this holiday event. And for the purpose of these next bunch of videos, I will focus on weight loss for you, because that's what most of you folks out there are wanting. Why am I making that assumption? We're the most obese civilization that's ever lived, so most of you out there, you will likely be wanting to lose weight. Also, there's not many people out there with goals of getting fatter out there for their holidays though. And looking at me and my exterior, you're not taking any sort of lifting or muscle building advice from me. Am I right? Anyway, the lifting advice out there for people wanting to gain some muscle is pretty simple anyway, because obviously everyone wants to get bigger, and you can do that by eating a little bit more food than you normally would and lifting more weight over time. Sorted. But whatever goal you have, especially on the subject of weight loss, just make sure that goal is something that you're emotionally invested in. Getting healthier is a bit too generic. So are things along the lines of, I'm wanting to be slimmer, because that's the goal of everyone on the internet. So instead of something like that, turn that goal into, I want to lose weight so I look class for my partner when we're on the beach. I want to lose weight so I can chase my kids up and down the beach so I'm not out of breath in front of everyone. Make sure it's a goal that you would run through a wall for, not literally, obviously. And think of the consequences of not reaching them, or who you will let down by not doing it, which will likely be you and your family. To go on better with my goal setting advice as well, make one that goes past your summer holiday, so when you come back from it, you have a reason to still continue all the good habits you've made. Because one of the many reasons that people go back to the muffin top look after a holiday is because now they've not got a goal to carry on their efforts. Whereas making a goal past your summer, like a marathon, a Tough Mudder, squatting 100 kilos for example, you would. And then guess what? You'll look even better for your next holiday the following year. And you basically keep doing that until the day you die, by creating consistent, constant, emotional goals you're invested in. That is literally what every healthy person on this planet does for the most part. They make a goal and base their time and effort around achieving it, like prepping meals and going to the gym. It is that simple. There it is. I've solved it for you. And the most emotional invested reason you should have in your life is doing this for your family, so you can stick around long enough to see them grow up. And even if you didn't reach a goal that you actually wanted, you can at least say, I gave it a right good goal. Because most of you out there trying to lose weight really haven't given it that much effort, I don't think. Even if you're adamant you have probably been following shitty advice, which is another problem entirely. Thankfully though, and hopefully, you're now listening to me, who will give you evidence-based advice and give you actual results. And you can go one better right now actually, by signing up to my free emails that I set up over 31 days to give you everything you need to create your own bespoke diet and things to consider when building it. Starting it now will get you in decent shape for the summer, so give it a go. And on the subject of goal setting and whatnot, I can now move nicely into my next point. So along with setting up a goal, you'll also need a hint of realism with it and make it realistic. So the other thing you need to think about over the coming weeks and months is setting realistic goals. You might want to walk around the beach like Brad Pitt in Fight Club, or Big Arnold back in the 80s. But is that really realistic when you look like a sack of shit and have 3 months to turn things around? Not really. And these goals that you should be setting should be so easy that they're embarrassing if you don't achieve them. Setting realistic goals simply comes down to you as an individual and what you're capable of and what your body allows. Again, it's all fine and well wanting to look like a rock, but with him at 6'4" or whatever, whilst also taking enough steroids to kill a blue whale, and also has access to his private travelling gym wherever he goes, and on the other hand you're 5'2", you work in an office, you got your local pure gym. These goals aren't really going to marry up anytime soon, are they? Not that you shouldn't strive for greatness, because you do want to become the best version of yourself, whatever that means to you, but maybe be a bit more realistic instead. So instead of saying, I want a six pack and a bunch of muscle for my holiday, maybe say something like, I'm going to try lose 5 kilos in 12 weeks, which is much more realistic and much more achievable. And you're going to try and do that by walking more, drinking more water, eating more whole foods, more protein, better sleep, exercising more in general, drinking less, binning takeaways, because all these things are very small and very achievable habits simply by swapping a few things around and also simply buying better in your food shops. Are you actually telling me what I've mentioned are difficult things to do? Because in my eyes, they are also simple. They're embarrassing if you don't do them. Sleep's a bit of a dodgy one though, especially if you've got kids, but you can still try. You might not realise this now, but setting unrealistic goals could be the very thing that's making you throw in the towel, because deep down you know it's never actually going to be achieved. You can tell all your mates down in the pub that in 12 weeks you plan on looking like Daniel Craig when he walks out to sea in James Bond, but your mates, and you, and me for that matter, all know that you're talking shit. Whereas if you set more goals that could actually realistically happen, you'll start winning a bit more, getting a little bit more motivation, and finally start succeeding overall. That then helps you drive on to get to your next one. It's fine to have a big massive goal, but make sure you have small ones along the way to then achieve it, and also swap them if things change with you too. You're definitely capable of losing the weight that you want, especially when you give it the attention it deserves. And I am going to piss off a few people here, which I do love to do. I would say that most of you who carried out a diet or have attempted one haven't really given it a right good effort, because if you did, you'd have succeeded by now, I would have thought, in my opinion anyway, because if it was my goal, it would probably consume me. I would start searching things on my phone to make this weight loss as easy as possible. I would question everything that I've been taught. Granted, not everyone's like me and like obsessive over things, but it does help me reach my goals. A goal you truly want would be achieved unless you don't really want it, because if you didn't get to it, you should be questioning why it didn't happen and figure out what went wrong. And this goes back to the first point about giving yourself an emotional reason to make sure you actually see it through, which is why a lot of you out there view your weight and your diet like a passive goal. It's like women who go to brunch and say, oh yeah, I'm on this diet that's totally working, when it totally isn't, as they tank 8 porn star martinis and then a pizza for a lunch, and then they spend the rest of their nights in slugging lettuce till 3 in the morning trying to grab themselves a youngster, and they don't actually exercise. She's really not taking that seriously, is she? Because being on a diet is almost like a status these days. It's like a bragging right. They're bragging about something they are not getting. It's absolutely incredible that some people are on them for years without actually achieving anything, because they're not taking it seriously enough. The only caveat I have to this is if you are following something unrealistic to start with, which isn't entirely your fault, because there are many people on the internet giving out terrible nutrition advice, but it does genuinely boggle my mind up until this point. You've not worked out that something isn't working with your diet in terms of effort or application, because it really can only be one of those two things. Or you've not actually grabbed it by its balls and said, why the fuck is this not working? And figured out for yourself. Unless you have serious underlying issues, which you should get help for. But it is a tiny bit your fault for listening to these idiots' advice online and not seeing through any terrible advice you're given. But you've been forgiven, because you're here now watching me. And as a thank you for that, we're going to get you in class shape for your holiday, sir, with the next bunch of videos focusing solely on that. But if you can't be bothered waiting for the next videos, you can get a head start on this by signing up to my emails that you can find below, because I give you 31 bits of advice over 31 days about setting up your very own bespoke diet, and also address some common areas where you think you might fail, like your work and your family life, which I also provide solutions for. You can also watch this video right here where I address what's more important, your general health or your body weight. It also explains that if you're a person who's struggling with your weight loss right now, a better, more fun and more enjoyable alternative, which I think you should do instead. So give it a watch and find out what it is. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next video.